Personally, to tell you the truth, I've never seen anything in an older XX that I wanted or liked in the realm of dating and relationships. I know that some of you watching this video can't get enough of them, but I just can't wrap my mind around why a man would want an XX in her late 30s, 40s, and 50s when you could have a young piece of tail feather in her prime instead. Apart from the ones who aren't bigger than a cow being fantastic in the bedroom due to their sexual experience, what else is there to them? I just don't see the craze over these types of women, especially with them being on the clock to look like a granny in a few years tops. And also, if you want to be a father, then older women will not be your best option. You'll likely have to go the route of in vitro fertilization, which can cost a crap ton of money just to get a child when you could have easily and cheaply impregnated a young woman. So do you see where I stand on that side of the argument? I can see if you wanted someone just to pleasure and bust gallons, then I would agree they will be fantastic if they don't have an itchy scratchy. And if they can't get pregnant, then even better, some of you nasty boys will get to roar all up in that wet vice grip as much as you want, and she can't get pregnant. See that I understand, but I see men out here wifing up these women with teenage kids and women that are past their decline, and I wonder why men would do that. If you're like 60 dating a 35-year-old woman, then that makes sense, or a guy in his 50s dating a 30-year-old woman, it makes sense to me. But men in their 20s and 30s are dating women in their late 30s to mid-50s, and I'm going, what the hell is wrong with these guys? Then to make it worse, you get shamed by society for not dating XXs, who obviously aren't worth taking seriously. So I want to know where we are going as a society, but it's nowhere good. But before I go in on the people who are shaming men for not dating leftover women, I personally have never buried my salami in an older woman because I have a preference, and that preference is not older women. So I'm going to be real with you guys and tell you that I personally don't have the experience of dating or lying down with one beneath the sheets. But what I do have is the experience of living with older women, and trust me, I would never in a million years want to wake up beside an older XEX every day. First of all, most of them aren't pleasant to be around, and they tend to have a cynical look at life due to them wrecking their lives from their younger years. They're nagging, complain a lot, bishy, have a ton of problems, are rarely ever genuinely happy, crazy, miserable, and so on. Some of the things that I've had to endure living with older women are unbelievable, to say the least. If you don't believe me, then take a look at older married guys and tell me if they don't look like lifeless husks just walking around without a soul. Some of these guys look like they're just waiting to croak and get away from their wives. So when I see young and middle-aged men flocking to older women, I have to wonder if these men are down bad or just clueless about the trap they're walking into. How I see it is they either have a fetish, they're desperate financially, or they can't get younger women for them to choose those types of women to be in a committed relationship. That's just my opinion and not a fact, so if you date older women seriously, please let me know why you decided to go that route in the comment section. And tap the like button for me guys, so we can help spread this message to more men who need this information. So let's look at why men are shamed for not dating leftover women in today's society. Number 1. Society wants men to take care of women. Now this comes as no surprise, but in society, which is the people around you, will always want to see women taken care of and have the best situation possible, even at the man's expense. And not only that, the government already knows that women need support, and if you look at the student loan bailout, that's a perfect example that women cannot make it on their own, no matter how they use to act strong and independent. Society doesn't shame or penalize these types of women because someone has to help to care for them. If not, they'll end up on the streets or even more reliant on the system, which is why it's so heavily promoted that older women still look beautiful and 45 is the new 25. The government doesn't want to take care of these people because it would dry up Social Security and other systems to help people in no time. Then the fact that in the United States, women outnumber men. They will stick together and try to get men to support older women if they end up in that situation where they're single and need a man to support them. So what do? Shame men for wanting to date younger women in their late teens and 20s and call them all sorts of isms and files to try and prevent and control that man from dating younger women. But notice that when an older woman dates a younger man, she gets praised and encouraged to do so by everyone around her because people know that unless the woman is rich, then she'll need financial assistance later on in life because most women are terrible with money. You just have to understand that it all comes boiling down to women getting supported at the end of the day. We can all agree with the student loan bailout that there's no strong and independent woman, and there never was any. Women need men or someone to help them get by and support themselves, and that's how it is, unfortunately. Number 2, modern science has extended the time for women to remain suitable mates. We all know nobody cares about an old gremlin feet woman dating or being in a long-term relationship. If the woman looks old, nobody will be bothered if she's single because we already expect old women to be single. After all, their husbands usually die before them, and if you think about it, it makes sense why the man would want to check out of life early. However, with the miracles of modern science, as Coach Greg Adams would call it, a leftover woman can look pretty good for her age. So people subconsciously will want those women who can still look youthful with the makeup, Botox, hair dye, and breast and booty implants to have a partner. That's how we're wired, because we want to see people looking young to be with someone else. If you don't believe me, then notice that everybody usually asks a young adult if they're seeing someone. Nobody expects someone young and of legal age to be single, and the same goes for ex-exes who can paint up their face like a clown and still look good. As long as older women can still look youthful, then people will always want men to swoop them up. If you go against the grain and you actually want the women that these women are trying to look like, then they'll shame you as an older guy. Always remember that it's a competition between women and men to get a partner, so in the case of women who have to compete to get the best man they possibly can, they'll use whatever tactics necessary to get a man. So if that involves shaming men to date them instead of younger women, then they'll do it. If that involves taking that man away from the young woman, then they'll do it. How many stories have you heard of mothers taking their daughters' boyfriends? You see what I mean? So as long as women are able to still look somewhat youthful and compete with younger women, men will never stop getting shamed into dating leftover women. You have to remember that older men are the ones that have the money and resources in society. If all the single old men with money go and date the young women, then who will be there to care for the older woman financially? And if young men only wanted to date young women, who would be left to pick up all the divorced leftover women back on the marketplace, or all the so-called strong and independent women that never prioritize relationships and are single and struggling? It all boils down to money and the availability of partners when you really stop and think about it. The more men that date young women, the fewer available men will be there for the older women who are left, and because there are not enough men in America for each woman. They have to find a way to keep their limited supply of men from venturing into the marketplace filled with younger women, and shame does the trick. That's why you'll hear them say she's young enough to be your daughter. You're a pervert for wanting that young 22-year-old woman. You're a pedophile and a grappist, and why would you want to date younger women when you don't have anything in common? And the best shame tactic of all, she'll only use you for your money, as if that's not what all women, including older women, do. So I want you to understand why you'll hear these things from the people around you. It's just to keep you from venturing into dating young women and have you as the cleanup man for these leftover 304s. And the last reason why men are shamed for not dating leftover women is that they don't want men to realize these women don't have any more value. We all know that leftover XX are not valuable in terms of being a long-term mate, mother to your kids, or arm candy. Most of these XX have nothing to offer than baggage, kids for other men, debts, mental illnesses, the itchy-scratchy, the ability to not have kids without the help of modern science, and a past with all the digging sticks that they've taken throughout their younger years. That's what most men are getting, and if men know they are getting a bad deal, they would never choose those types of women. But if society sells the dream that these women are still valuable, then of course, someone will snatch them up. Men who choose leftover women are getting the worst version of these women because other men got them when they were in their prime, and you're getting her in her decline. How is that a win? Other men got her when she looked her absolute best naturally, while you're getting the version of her that needs Botox and makeup to look decent. Is that really a win? You're getting this woman after she's raised the price of how much she needs per month to maintain herself when other men got her for far cheaper when she was younger and had more value. See what I mean? And some already have kids from other men that you'll probably have to help out depending on their age or whether they live with their mother. That's an L in my books. So realistically, if most men could objectively look at older women, see their actual value, and realize they're getting a bad deal, then most men would not date these women. That's why shame is used so heavily to control and keep men in check and from thinking clearly. When a man doesn't care about shame and does whatever he wants, I want you to realize that women can't control that man. Only the men who care about what women in society think of them will fall into the shame trap that people set to keep men dating older women. Until men stop caring, then shame tactics will keep those men on the plantation of dating leftover women and getting a raw deal. But it is what it is. I just want you guys to realize why they shame you so hard and what you're getting if you allow them to control you, so the choice is yours. Share the video with a man that needs to hear this message and subscribe for more RP content exposing the modern woman. If you want to donate to the channel, the links to our Cash App and PayPal are in the description box below. And if you want to learn why successful older women feel the effects of men checking out of relationships, then click the video on the screen right now to see how they struggle to find a man to commit to.